What's up, guys? This is Nate, and in this video I want to continue where we left off, scraping websites with XPath and DOMDocument in PHP, and this is kind of where I left off in the last video, and we talked about making a class and kind of taking this a little bit farther. So what I'm going to do is start to build out that class. Now this is going to be, we've been doing object-oriented programming a little bit, because working with these classes in PHP, they are object-oriented. I don't really want to go too deep into showing you how to do that if you don't know how. But why don't we just go ahead and start and make a class. So what I'm going to do is just make a new PHP file. And I'm going to save this as XPath.php. We can use capital. And we can start to make this a class. So let's say first thing we're going to need is some PHP tags, and we can just call it XPath. So this is going to be the class. And we already have a lot of this stuff. So first thing we're going to want is to create a constructor function. So we can say public function construct. And we're going to pass in a URL, because we're going to need a URL. That's pretty much the only thing that's really going to need to change. So what we can do, first thing we're going to do is take this instantiating the DOMDocument and DOMXpath. So we're going to copy this and put this into the constructor. Now we're going to need to get the website that we pass in here. So we're going to do that with curl. And let's make a couple of variables before I go all crazy here. So we can say, let's just make them public. And then we'll say, we're going to want the DOM, we're going to want the XPath instance, in a variable, and then we're going to want the, well, that should be enough actually. So then we can change these. I'm just going to go ahead and use some magic here to be this. So this DOM is going to be the DOMDocument, this XPath is going to be the XPath, okay? So what we need to do is do a curl method. So we can do a private function, and this is going to be curl, we'll call it. We only need a 1 underscore there. And this is going to give us the instance of curl. So what we're going to need to do is pass in a URL, of course. We can go back and get our curl that we've got here. We can just copy this, throw it in here. And then basically we can change it a little bit. So the curl handler is going to be, we can just pass in the URL each time. So we'll do that, and then we can do some more options. This is the only one that you absolutely need to do XPath at least. But what we can do is just say the result is equal to that, and then we'll return the result. So that way we'll have the URL. So what we can do in here now is we can say HTML equals this, and we'll call that curl function and pass in the URL. So then this will perform curl when we instantiate on the URL, and then we can create a DOMDocument, and then we're going to put this HTML variable into the load HTML, and then we instantiate the XPath object and pass in this DOM. So now this is really all we need to get started. But why don't we add another function? We'll add the query. So when we're doing the XPath queries, we can do that real easily. So we'll say query, and then we'll pass in some XPath, and then we'll say, okay, the result is going to be this XPath, query Q, and then we can return result. So this should be pretty much enough to get started. A couple other options that we can put in for curl real quick. I'm just going to pull from another class. One of them is going to be instead of using this curl init, we can use you don't really have to do this, but we could do it. And we can say, whoops, I hit some crazy button. I don't know what I just did there. Okay, so I hit Control-Shift-D, and with Camtasia that does something crazy. So what I'll just do is just write it out. Curl set opt, and then we're going to want the curl handler, and the option we can do this time is curl opt underscore URL, and that's going to be the URL that we're curling, and we can just pass in that URL variable. Another one that we can do is I know we can do the user agent, so we can set the user agent of the browser request. So curl opt user agent, and then we can just use the Googlebot user agent. So basically, it'll look as if it's Google crawling their site and not us, because this is one of the Googlebot user agents. So we can pass that in, and these are the options are what makes curl a lot more powerful than like using file get content or something like that. And if you want to take a look at let's say PHP curl, and then we can just take a look at the PHP manual, and I just want to look at the constants really quick. So you go to curl set opt, and you can see what all these are. So another one that we want to set for doing this is the auto refer. And what this does is when you set it to true, it's going to automatically basically follow. If the page that you're trying to request sends you to a redirect, then this will follow to that next page. So we definitely want that. So let's just add that in here. Say curl set opt channel, and it's follow location, I believe. Let's check to make sure. No, it's auto refer. That's a different one I was thinking here. Let's be smart and just copy it. Okay, so we want that. And let's look for some other stuff. There's cookies. You can use cookies with curl. You can have like a cookie jar, and then if like a URL requires that you have cookies, basically, then you can do something like that. You can set the headers. Let's see. If it's the SSL verify peer, I've used that before. I'm not sure. I don't remember what I had to use it for. Let's see. So there's a lot of these basically. Follow location. That sends any part of the this is recursive. PHP will follow as many. So yeah, the follow location, we want that. So if we get redirected a bunch of times, it'll just keep following the redirects. So let's just copy this down. Curl opt follow location. We need to set these both to true. And then, so this is just, I guess, enough for now. Like a lot of times what people will do is they'll use proxies, and they'll use like a user agent list. So basically, let's say you wanted to look up some user agents. Let's say just user agent strings or something. So here's a list of them here. So here's a bunch of the bots. It looks like, and browsers, mobile browsers, so like an Android phone, for example. These are a bunch of the user agents for it. So basically, what people do is just make a huge list of user agents, and then for each request, you could basically query that list and then switch this value out, you know, if you wanted to get real technical with it. But for now, I think this is enough. You might want to do some error checking with the curl. So basically what we could do is say, you know, let's see. I'm just going to copy and paste some code that I have already. That works for me, and it's basically checking the result. So if there's no result, then we're gonna print out the error number. We're gonna print out the error, and then we can just do a var dump on the other variables, because when there's errors, they'll have some info here, and it'll also show you all the info from the error. So like a lot of times, if you're forbidden or something like that, or if it gets rejected, you can get the information why in here. So that'll just print all that out for us. And then if not, and then we'll exit if that happens and print all this stuff out. If not, then we're going to return the result. And there's one more function that I have in my class that I'll just bring over here. And this is something I just kind of hacked up one day, and it's really useful. I actually found a bug in PHP that has to do with this. Well, that just throws an error sometimes, but it's just a bug in PHP. But basically what it does is it's going to echo the pre that we were doing before all the time, and let's go ahead and just indent these. So it's going to echo the pre, and then it's going to print out the result. So basically when you do a query, it's going to return your result set. So I use this function to just throw the result set into this preview method, and then it's going to print out the results, and then it's going to loop through and print out all the node values in a nice little list, and then it goes through and it basically for each it puts an array, and then it prints out that array as well. So it just kind of gives you a lot of different, pretty much all the different views that I like to look at stuff. You know, it's pretty cool function, I think. It's simple, and it saves me from having to loop through and look at everything. So let's check out how this works. So I decided I don't want to keep doing Craigslist for this video. I'm going to do the IMDb, I think. So, which I've never done before, so it'll be kind of fun. And it's good to see kind of how I'd go about this, I guess. Because whatever website you guys are going to want to scrape data from, you're going to have to kind of figure it out, you know, and like hack it out. So let's see. IMDb, got news. About popular movies. So yeah. 384,000. Wonder if we can narrow this down. Well, we could just use this, I guess. So let's say, so we got 100 on this page, right? 100 titles, pictures, whatever. So let's say we wanted the title. We can just inspect it. Well, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's just grab this URL. I wonder if we can just say title / title without all these parameters. And that's going to bring us to a search. Let's say comedy. Let's say it's ones that were in the top. Well, that'll really narrow it down. Let's say all the comedies that are rated PG-13 or something that are in color. Just to kind of narrow it down a little bit, I guess. So let's search that. So this is going to give us 50 per page, and yeah, we narrow it down to 1,800 titles, so that's better. Because what I want to show you is actually how to scrape recursively. So we're going to write a script that'll scrape all 50 of these, right? And then we're going to figure out how to make it automatically go to the next page, and then scrape all these, you know, and then go to the next page and scrape all these. Their website loads pretty slow. Yeah, so we're going to recursively get all this stuff instead of just doing one page at a time like we were doing before. So let's just figure out let me grab what we were working on here. And so let's just go back to our index page, right? And I'm gonna delete all this, I guess, and just start kind of fresh here. So what we want is this URL to start with. Let's see. So we'll say start URL is this. Whoops, it's a string. Right, and then what we're gonna want to do to instantiate the XPath, you're gonna to use this class basically. First, we're gonna have to require it because we need it. So we can require once and say XPath.php, and then just to make sure everything's all kosher, we can go to that page. So localhost /youtube/php/index.php. So we got no errors, so we're good to go. So why don't we go ahead and pass in, let's just pass in the start URL. So what we would do is say XPath equals new XPath, all capitals, and then we're going to pass in the URL here. So we can say start URL. And then we can save this. We'll run it just for fun. And we got an undefined variable DOM on line 11. So we wanted to see some errors. Must be an index of DOMDocument. Undefined variable DOM on line 11. So this XPath equals, okay, we need to put this DOM instead of just DOM. That was my mistake. And there we go, no errors. So yeah, let's go back to this. Let's go back to IMDb. So now we have this page. Let's just kind of figure out the XPath. Let's say we wanted to get let's get the title and the link to this page for it. We'll get that link right there, and then we can get the image. So we'll just get the title and the image for all of these, right? To keep the video not 10 hours long. So let's inspect this and see what it looks like. There's no class, so looks like it's inside of this title. So there's a TD, a class of title, and that's got all that stuff. And then we're going to want this link. And it looks like all the other links are in spans, so it's really going to be the only one. Let's just try that, I think. So we do an XPath expression, and we can say, what was it, TD with a class of title. Just make sure that's right, okay. And then we can say A. Let's just take a look right along. Looks good. So yeah, that's what we want, A. So then we can say, well, we're gonna want, because there's actually anchor text there that's giving us the title. So we can say text to get all the titles. And then we could say, to get all the hrefs, we could say attribute href. So these are what we're going to need for that. That was pretty easy, actually. Let's see. So this is the XPath for the text. So let's see. Anchor text. And then let's say, and we can just change this right here to be at href. Okay, so the image, let's see. The image doesn't have a class. So, okay, we got a TD of image, and that's the only image, so we can do that. So we'll select this. So TD class of image, let me move this up a little bit. Okay, so XPath, say TD as a class of image, right? And then we're going to want the image in there. Nothing. So let's see why. That's because it's inside of a link. Okay. So a couple things we could do. We could say a image, and that'll be the direct path. So it's an image slash inside of an a slash, and there's image inside of that. Another thing you could do, which would be kind of like a shortcut, would be how I was saying the double slashes before. These start, if you do them in the beginning, this is going to start from anywhere in the document. But then this is more specific to just this, right? But instead of having this A here, I could put double slashes here to get this image, and that'll say from anywhere within this TD of image, right? So that should just skip over that link and give me the images that I want, right? So let's do that. That works. And then we can say add source. So those are all the sources. And it looks like there's titles on them too. Yeah, title. So we could take the title too. Let's just take a look. So we'll say image source is that. And we could say image title, and we'll just say at title, and that should give us the title, and we can put that just to hover over it or something, who knows. Okay, so that was pretty easy. Now the key to doing this recursively is we're gonna want to know this next, like, see, they have pagination. So whatever the pagination is, you're gonna want to figure out how it's structured. You know, so we have a next link on the bottom and we have a next link on the top, it looks like. So let's take a look at it. So class of pagination, and then there's a next link. So there's no class on it. Let me take a look at this next page. Let's look at this. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. They have this class of pagination, however you want to say it. And the back button and the next button are right next to each other, no classes. So we're gonna have to use a function XPath, I'm thinking. Yeah. So we're gonna want to look for this, and we can use, there's a function called contains, and it's a little bit tricky. Let me see. Basically, we want the links. We can just go for just the link, I believe. Why don't we do it this way? We'll say span class pagination, and then let's just see if that gets something. Okay, gets us 2. So then let's say we want the link. Yeah, we get to both links. So what we can do, there's a function called the contains function, and it basically checks to see if, as an XPath function, it checks to see if it contains a string. Sorry about that. Blah blah blah. And let's see, it's here. I've used it a few times. It's very useful. Let's see, contains. Okay. So it returns true if string 1 contains string 2. Otherwise it returns false. So you say contains the XML and then this XM in there, and yeah, it is, so it'd say true, right? So this is the format of it. Now when you do it, you'd say A, we're looking for a link that contains the text next. So we'd say A, and you do it like an attribute almost, and you say contains. And you can pass in 2 strings here. What I usually do is just pass a dot, and that selects, I think, I'm not sure 100% what that does, but it works. So it's pretty much anything within this. So this is the current node. So I think this is all the text within the current node, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, and we want to look for next. So okay, that worked. So we got this one on top and the bottom. So they're actually have an index, so we could actually just get the first one. I think we could say like 1 and get the first one. That didn't work. Oh, I think you, yeah, you have to wrap the expression in a parenthesis, I think, if it's like this. I'm not sure. Like, you wrap that. This is a little bit complicated. I'm not like an XPath genius, but I know enough to make it work. So, yeah, I think you wrap this in a parenthesis, and then you can access the keys, or the array indexes. Yes, so that's what we want. So that's a pretty complicated XPath thing there. It probably could be written better, but it works. So this is going to give us the next, it's only going to give us the top one, so not the bottom one. So we got that. So we'll say next link. Okay. So let's say, let's just mess with this class a little bit then. So we got all the XPath figured out. We can say images equals, and we'll say XPath query, and then we can just throw this in there. Image sources, let's say source equals that, and then I'll show you that function I was saying. You could just say XPath preview, and then you can pass that image source in. And why don't we call it query like we were doing before? Just for fun, I don't know. It's more readable, I guess. Image query, so then we can run this. Yeah, and what that preview function does is first it's going to print out the object and give me the length. So I said 50, that's what I want to see because we know there's 50 on the page. And then it's going to go through and loop and give you all the node values. So this is all the 50 image sources that we were looking for. So I can look at that right there and say, okay, yep, that's right. Now this is the error I was talking about. This is a DOM attribute or whatever error, I guess. And yeah, it's trying to get the schema or something. From what I understood, I have a link to it here. Let's see. This is the bug. And it generates a warning or whatever that it wasn't, let's see, it generates that it wasn't implemented on the print R or whatever, so that's what we're seeing there. But we know that it's working because it is printing, it is doing a print R. It's just right here, one of these attributes or whatever, it throws an error, so just ignore that. You probably could suppress it. I don't usually suggest suppressing errors, but we could, I guess. Just put an @ there. Well, no. We'll leave them. Sometimes there is errors that you want to see. So yeah. So we know that's right. And these are the node values. So then what we can do, I want to start building an array. So we could say for each image query as image, and well, we can instantiate an image array, let's say, equals an array, and we'll make an empty one, and then we'll say for each as image. So, and this is just getting the source, so image array, image source query. We can make this real ugly. Image source query, and then we'll say image title query, and then we'll get the title for that. So we should be able to loop through. I'm going to end up using a for loop, actually. My apologies. So let's just run through and get these all real quick, the queries. So then we can say the anchor text. Warning, I did not script this video, so, but you're going to see me work it out. The anchor text, link title, we'll say query, that's ugly, equals XPath query, and then we'll put this in, So this is just the text. Wow. And then we'll say, we'll just copy this down, link href, query, and we'll say @href. So this is pretty much what we need. And then we can say, we know there's 50 on the page, but why don't we just say echo link href query, oops. Let's just say echo the length. So see what the length of this last query was. So it's 50. So why don't we just use that in a for loop? Because we know if we've got 50 links, chances are we've got 50 of these too. So let's say x equals 0, x is less than link's length, and then we'll say x plus plus to start this loop. And we'll make an array, a data array. Why not? Be an associative array. And then we could say, let's just say data. So we could say data, and then for each loop we can add a thing to this array, an index, I'm sorry. And then we could say, for the image title, let's say image title, and we could say that equals image title query, and then it's going to be item x, and then it's going to be node value. So then we could do that, and that'll loop through and put all 50 in this array, and then we could say data image source, for example, and then we could say image source query. That's exactly what we want. And then we could say link title, and then we could just put that in there, link title query, and then we could say link href query equals link href query. So this should make a nice big array associative with 50 associative arrays inside of it with everything that we want. So if this is right, we can go ahead and say, we'll echo a pre, and then we'll print our this array we just made to see what it looks like. So yeah, so now we have an array, and it's got, okay, the ride along, and then the image link, image title, image link, and it's got the link title, and then that for all 50 results. So now, I mean, you could have put the values right into a database or something, but I just wanted to take a look and make sure we had these right, which we do. So let me see how long this video is. 35 minutes long. Oh my. So let's see what we could do with this. Now what you'd want to do basically is turn this into a function. So what I'm gonna do, I guess we got the XPath class built. I'm sure you guys can get a good idea how to use this, but I'm gonna stop this video, and then I'm gonna start another video from where I left off here, and I'm gonna continue, and we'll start doing the recursive scraping through each page of IMDb. Alright, so yeah, if you like it, thumbs up, subscribe, and hopefully I'll have this other video out here real shortly. Alright, thanks for watching.